Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another of our virtual countercultures. Today we are, well, first of all, sorry, I'm Susan Axelrod, the editor of Culture. And today we are very pleased to welcome Foods of Spain to talk about Jamón Serrano. We have a wonderful panel for you this afternoon. First of all, we have Jeffrey Shaw, who's the director of Foods from Spain, which is at the Trade Commission of Spain. And this organization specializes in the promotion of Spain's foods and gastronomy in the US. Jeffrey has been working with Spanish food for more than 20 years. Then we have Carlos de Hoyo, and Carlos is the marketing and promotion manager for Consorcio de Jamón Serrano Español in Spain. And next we have Joe Saraceno. And Joe has lived in Spain for 30 years and worked in many areas of the food industry. In 1997, he championed the launch of the first Jamón Serrano in the USA. So he has really been responsible for making this product, putting this product on American tables. So I hope everyone has your sample of Jamón Serrano to taste along during Joe's presentation. If you have not received the ham, please let us know and we'll make sure that you do. As usual, we're going to ask you to use the chat or Q&A feature to ask your questions. Some of them we will answer during the presentation as time allows, and others we can answer during a dedicated 10-minute Q&A session at the very end. So we have a jam-packed program this afternoon, and we don't want to waste any time. You really don't want to hear any more from me. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeffrey.
Thank you, Susan. On behalf of Foods from Spain and Wines from Spain, hello, everybody. Good to see you. Well, virtually you can see us. Thank you to Culture Magazine for organizing today's session, and a special thank you to the Consorcio de Jamón de Serrano Español, which is really what this is all about. Spain has a rich, centuries-old ham-making tradition. Jamón, if you travel to Spain, and I would really encourage you to, you will quickly find out it's central to Spain's gastronomic culture. I will put it to you, it is a symbol and, of course, a wonderful delicacy. Today, we will learn what makes Jamón Consorcio special. Not much more from me. I'm pleased to present Carlos Hoyo, manager from the Consorcio. Over to you, Carlos.
Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey, for your kind presentation, and thank you very much, Susan, for your kind invitation to this webinar. And thank you, everybody, for attending this masterclass. Let me just briefly introduce Consorcio de Jamón Serrano. We are an independent and a private association of the main producers of Serrano ham in Spain. We've been in business in 1990. Our objective is to create and to build the image of excellence of the Serrano ham from Spain. We have a couple of activities, main activities here. One is to select the best Serrano hams from our producers. The other is to label them with our quality seal and help them promote Consorcio Serrano ham worldwide. We are in more than 65 countries. We produce and sell over nearly 800,000 Serrano hams every year. And we have the privilege to count with the help of Joe Saraceno, which is one of the main experts of Serrano ham, of cured ham from Spain in the US. He will help you understand, he will guide you through the quality seal standards and what we do as a consortium, as an association. Joe, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you very much again for attending this webinar.
Well, thank you very much, Carlos. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome everyone who's joining us. Again, my name is Joe Saraceno, and I have worked with Jamón Serrano since 1995 when I joined a Jamón Serrano company in Spain. I actually lived in Spain for 30 years. They were 30 wonderful years, and I appreciated the wonderful culinary history that Spain has, and as you said before, Jamón Serrano is certainly a center of that of Spain. Before we go any further, let's just go over what we'll be discussing in our next slide. Just a bit of history. We'll talk about the Consorcio del Jamón Serrano Español, the quality seal, which you'll see on the products. We'll compare Consorcio Serrano with prosciutto, similar but different products, and we'll go over that. The types of Jamón Serrano, the actual production process, which is very interesting and has a lot to do with Spain's climate, the different formats of the product, how it comes, the quality seal guarantee, which is very, very important for us, the storage of the product, slicing and carving, the tasting of the Consorcio ham. I hope you all have your samples there. I already had mine, and it was very, very, very good. Tasting suggestions or serving suggestions, and what to keep in mind regarding the Consorcio. We can go to the next slide. A bit of history. Cured ham predates even the Romans. When the Romans invaded the Iberian Peninsula, they discovered cured ham, and they saw that it was a wonderful product that was made in many of the mountainous regions of Spain. Spain is a very mountainous country. So the word Jamón Serrano actually means ham from the mountains. And it became very popular with the Romans, and the Romans were actually able to trade this product and send it to Rome, to Italy, or what is today Italy. Basically because it was actually a stable product. No refrigeration was needed. It was a dry cured product, and therefore, as long as it was kept out of the sun and below deck, they were able to bring it to Italy. You might see on your screen there, they even minted coins with ham legs. That's how important it was for the Romans. Even before 1975, about jamón was actually just a commodity product. It was not a branded product. But as supermarkets and hypermarkets in Spain became bigger and more popular, Jamón Serrano producers thought that wouldn't it be good if we actually branded this item and just like other products that were sold in supermarkets, and that it all started in 1975. Fast forward to 1990, this is when several Spanish companies decided that the US market would probably be a great place to sell ham, and so the process began in 1995. The approval process was then finished in 1995, and just after, or a few years after, the Consorcio was created, which is a private and independent association of producers. There are 25 main Spanish producers today, representing 5.5 billion euro, which is pretty much the same in dollars today in sales. 800,000 Consorcio hams are sold throughout the world, which represents 65% of all the cured ham exports and 60% of the total production. Next slide, please. The quality seal, very important, 100% Spanish product. That means that the raw material must come from Spain, and the production obviously must be done in Spain. There are constant on-premise audits and inspections, which are done again to each or done in each establishment. The recipe has to be a traditional recipe. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. The minimum aging period, very important, is 12 months. A dry cured ham must be aged at least 12 months for it to change, for it to turn into a cured meat and not just a salted piece of pork. A strict quality and process control are very important for the Consorcio, and each ham is individually selected It's been probed, and that is very important. Consorzio Serrano versus prosciutto. Well, obviously, Serrano is from Spain, whereas prosciutto or Parma prosciutto is from Italy. Consorzio Jamón Serrano is the raw material is from Spain, whereas the prosciutto product is from Parma or San Daniele. Typically, a Jamón Serrano is smaller in raw weight, 13 to 16 kilos, which is about 25 to 27 pounds, whereas the Parma prosciutto is a much bigger leg. Serrano uses younger pigs, whereas the prosciutto pigs are a bit older. The humidity that's lost is significant. Approximately 34% of humidity is lost in a Serrano ham, where in a Parma ham, it's only 30%. That is just the recipe. When it comes to the curing, it's a minimum of 12 months, up to 24 months. The larger the ham, the more curing time it needs. It's never smoked, and it's not covered with paprika either. Parma hams are cured between 12 and 18 months. Again, they're not smoked either. The salting process is a little bit different. The hams are covered entirely with coarse sea salt for anywhere between a week to 2 weeks. The rule is one day of salting per kilo of raw ham, whereas the Parma hams are salted on the meat surface only, and they're laid flat and absorb salt that way. The most common formats in Spain, of course, is the bone-in product with the trotter, although the trotter or the hoof is not allowed in the US. The skin cut is a typical V shape. And of course, boneless hams are the ones that are trimmed, deboned, and pre-sliced. Of course, those are the deboned hams that are pressed and ideal for pre-sliced products. The Parma ham is typically cured with no trotter, with the skin completely on, and then it's deboned and pre-sliced. And when it comes to Parma ham, it is pre-sliced in Italy. The texture, color, and flavor is also very different. Since Serrano has a much lower humidity content, it has a slightly drier texture. However, it has an intense flavor. It has very nice intramuscular fat or marbling, which is key, and it has a beautiful, rich purple color. The Parma prosciutto has more of a humid content. It has a softer, more delicate texture. It has less intramuscular, less marbling, and the color is sort of a pinky color and a very mild flavor. We can go to the next slide. The types of Serrano ham, the raw material that's used are basically white pigs. Now, there are several different breeds of white pigs. Oftentimes, these pigs have there's a lot of genetic crossing, which is something that's done pretty much all over the world. So it's very difficult to say it's a 100% large white or 100% landrace. There are many different crosses. The weight of a Serrano ham, a fresh ham, is approximately 100. The weight of the entire pig is 110 kilos, about 250 pounds. They're only about 6 months old. They're younger animals, and the total curing time, as we can see in the pyramid, is over 52 weeks, closer to 60 weeks in some cases. The Consorzio ham offers, as we can see here on the right, some quality guarantees, quality certification that a normal Serrano would not have. First of all, the Consorzio seal and certification by an independent agency. The origin of the feedstock is 100% from Spain. Again, the minimum age is at least 52 weeks. The audits that are that are done. There's a triple audit, one by the traditional, the name escapes me right now, but it's the European Traditional Specialty Association. The installations are under control and inspected by the consortio, and this is all independently verified by the SGS group. And then each ham is individually selected. Each ham, actually, there's a master ham specialist who presses the ham to make sure that the consistency, the hardness of the ham is correct. And also they use a horse bone as a probe to smell inside the ham to make sure that the ham is properly cured. It's a beautiful process to see. And these folks will smell literally thousands of hams per day. I'm not sure what they do in the evenings when they go home and have dinner, but with it smelling all this ham all day. But certainly it's a very interesting job. Next slide, please. Okay, the production process here. Before we get into the weeks and the temperature and the humidity, the production process of jamón serrano follows very much the climate in Spain. Back in the day when there was no refrigeration, the slaughter took place, pig slaughter took place in the depths of winter, probably the middle, end of December in the mountains where it was quite cold and it was quite humid. So it was perfect to start the curing process. The pigs would be slaughtered, they would be butchered, the entire legs would be covered in sea salt in very cold and humid conditions. This is what nowadays we call the salting process. This is done in modern facilities, but in the olden days it was done in basements and in cellars. The post-salting process is where the salt is then removed, the hams are washed, and again the humidity and the temperature, as you can see, is very low. Temperature is very low, humidity is very high, so the salt is able to penetrate all the way down to the bone of the ham. So all the meat is salted. This, of course, if we take this to the calendar year, we're talking January, February. By the time March and April come by, the temperatures in Spain and the humidity start to change. This is where the actual maturing process took place, where the temperature would start going up, the humidity would start going down, and the actual curing would actually take place. And this would happen up until approximately the month of September, where the temperatures would moderate again, the humidity would moderate, and this is where the aging and the cellars took place. And there you have it. This is, if you add up all the numbers, it's 60 months. 60 months later, you have a wonderful jamón serrano, which is ready to eat and consume. And as you can see, there's a gentleman there hand selecting the product one by one.
Joe?
And when it comes to the consortio, the quality seal is then put on the hand. Yes.
Hi, Joe. We have a question from Laura. Why do they use a horse bone to test the aroma? What part of the horse is used and why?
Yeah, it's actually a bone in the lower leg. And it is the bone itself. It was long enough to probe the ham, so it has the perfect length, and it has the perfect how can I call it, surface, so that the aroma sort of sticks to the bone. It's not smooth at all. It's a little bit porous. And so as you put in the bone, you can, when you take it out, you're smelling what's actually inside. And so that's why it's a horse bone and not just any piece of plastic or metal. It wouldn't work the same. I don't know if that answers the question.
I guess probably some people would worry what happened to the horse. So, I know horses get old, so perhaps
Yes.
that's, yes. So,
Yes, they do.
yeah,
And actually in Spain, folks don't eat a lot of horse. I don't think they eat any at all.
right.
But yeah, somehow they get their hands on the horse bone.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we can go to the next slide. Okay, the different formats. If you've ever been to Spain, and if you haven't, please go. It's a wonderful country. You go to a supermarket or a hypermarket, you will see hundreds of bone-in hams hanging from these wood racks in the store. There'll be a gentleman there asking you what you're looking for. He will actually take the whole ham off the rack. He'll probe it, even though it's already been probed, but he'll do it for show. And they will weigh the ham, and they'll wrap it up, and off you go, and put the ham in your shopping cart. This is the way it's consumed in Spain. Obviously, deboned hams are also consumed in Spain. These are obviously for slicers. And one thing to point out, in a bone-in ham, when you're actually cutting the meat from off the ham, you're actually going with the grain of the meat. In a boneless ham, you're slicing the ham against the grain. So even though it's the same product, you will perhaps have a very different mouthfeel because of this. If we go further to the right, you see here, these are blocks of ham, or center half cuts of ham. This is simply a deboned ham which is pressed and trimmed so that all you basically get is the meat in a sliceable format. And of course, the pre-sliced ham is for convenience, and you'll find that in Spain. You'll find that anywhere around the world. You'll find that here in the US with the Consorcio brand. How do you recognize a Consorcio ham? Well, once the inspectors have probed the ham, once they have evaluated the quality of the ham, they will burn a Serrano seal onto the skin. This is very important. So that is the one way to see it. Even when the ham is deboned, the ham is removed, and it turns into a boneless ham, you will still see that you'll see the S, the exclusive signature S Serrano on it. You will also see labels certifying that the product is a Consorcio ham. As you can see, the round certification label. And in the pre-sliced product, you will see across the left-hand side a certified by the Consorcio Serrano. The ham has been selected, and it goes with the quality of the Consorcio, which is very important. The labels are numbered with individual codes so that the ham is actually traceable to the producer and to the lot, etc. The traceability of all these products is absolutely impeccable, and that's very important because it's a product with a very distinctive denomination of origin. Go to the next slide, I believe. Here we go. How to store a Consorcio ham? Well, the bone-in ham, it is a dry cured, stable, ready to eat product. So there's no need to actually take the whole ham and put it into your refrigerator. It probably won't fit. Well, maybe it might. In American refrigerators, it would fit. Certainly in European ones, it won't. But you can keep it in a cool, dry place, in a ventilated place. You can cover the open cut with a cotton cloth. Before doing that, when you're trimming the ham, you might put a layer of fat on top of that open slice just to keep it moist. And you can be carving the ham for 2-3 weeks, even more, by cutting a little bit each day. you can, and inviting a bunch of friends over, you can certainly go through that ham quite quickly. Boneless and pre-sliced, you want to use all the food packaging safety measures. You would definitely want to wrap it in plastic, but you want to keep it refrigerated. Once the product has been cut open in a deboned ham, it will dry quicker than if it was just left with the fat and skin on. So you want to wrap it in plastic, but do put it in the refrigerator. You can cut the ham into chunks and wrap up the chunks really tight with plastic, and it will last literally for many weeks in your refrigerator. Again, it's best to protect the surface with plastic wrap, better than aluminum. And again, you can consume it over the next many weeks. It is a dry cured, shelf stable, ready to eat product, and that's as per USDA. So a very safe product. Perhaps the surface will get a little dark. It doesn't necessarily change anything. It's just natural oxidation. As soon as you take a couple of slices off, it will the ruby red color will come right back. And next slide, please. Slicing machines. Well, I'm sure you're very familiar with using a machine to slice. It's very important that the machine be clean and the blade be sharp. Extremely important. Otherwise, you won't be able to get those paper thin slices. When you're trimming the ham, the important thing is you must remove the rind. The rind is very hard and it will not slice very well on the machine. You can, if there is a bit of rind, you can hear it on the blade. You want to remove that rind just as much as you're going to slice. You can leave the rest on, and you want to remove any yellow fat from either surface. The yellow fat is basically oxidized fat. It's just like when you leave butter in the refrigerator and it turns yellow. It's the exact same process. It's just oxidation, but it does have a little bit of rancidity. So you want to eliminate that. You want to keep the white fat on the piece. You can, depending on the size of the machine, of course, you're using, you can cut it into chunks if the machine is not so big. If it's a large machine, you can basically cut the ham in half and start slicing there and showing the other half in your deli window. That looks nice. As you can see, the ham there is cut into 3 pieces. That's probably the best way to cut it into blocks and then use it as you go. Adjusting the thickness. Whenever I go into a deli, I always say not too thick, not too thin. I've always asked them if I can try it to make sure that I'm good with the thickness. It can't be too thin, but it can't be too thick. We all know that. The presentation, you can put it on wax paper. I wouldn't put the slices one on top of the other. As you know, even with other dry cured hams or meats, they will stick. So it's best to separate the slices. So this way, the experience when you're taking it apart, you're not ripping the slice. If it's too thin, you'll rip it. If it's too cold, it's also very difficult to separate the slices. So you want to be very careful as you place the ham on the paper. Carving a ham, well, that's an art. I've carved many a ham in my day, and I'm still learning. Every ham is a little bit different. The important thing is, one, you have to have a ham stand, a proper ham stand to keep it still. It's very difficult to wrestle a 20-pound ham if you don't have a proper stand. Another very important element is the proper knives. As you can see in the picture number 2, the hawk tracing, that knife there looks like a regular knife. That one is. When you're trimming the fat, that could be a regular knife, but when you're carving, the knife has to be a hamon knife. It's a long, flexible, extremely sharp knife that you have to keep very sharp at all times. What I tell folks always is when you're slicing, always keep your fingers in front of the knife, not behind the knife. We've all made mistakes and sometimes it slips. You don't want that to happen with a very sharp knife. But to get the best thin slices as you've received, those are very thin slices. They were expertly cut. Thoroughly enjoyed mine. This in a food service present in a wonderful restaurant, it's great to have a whole ham sliced off the bone. However, would suggest that the person doing it is trained, one, for presentation, two, to actually make a nice plate of it, and three, to get your money's worth. You don't want to be throwing out too much product. Very important. And next slide, please. Okay, so the tasting. Well, I'm not sure if you're tasting the ham now, but you can, I suppose you can. The visual aspect of the fat, again, the fat has to be white, not too much, not too little. It's important. It will keep it very moist and luscious in your mouth. So the fat does have to be present, and in a good ham, the actual fat will probably start to liquefy anywhere over about 75 degrees. It will start to liquefy, and that is the sign of a very good ham. That's wonderful fat. The lean meat, of course, is intense red ruby color, as it should be, almost purple. I would say ruby red. The fat texture has to be a little hard, but not too much. It's not like butter, but at the same time, it should be easy to chew. Jamon Serrano, both the fat and the meat should be easy to chew. The fluidity of the fat, of course, as I said, depends on the degree of oleic acid in the fat, and it will start to melt anywhere above 75 degrees approximately. The marbling of a Serrano ham is very important. It points to a very high quality Serrano ham, and it makes for a fantastic ham. The relative humidity should be under 45% as an optimal figure. The fibery feeling depends on the amount of marbling. The more marbling, the easier it is to chew. Okay, so a very important point here is the saltiness. Most Spaniards aren't very tolerant with salt. They don't like a salty ham, and that is why it is only put in salt for a limited amount of time. It won't be the first thing that you taste. The first thing that you'll be taste is it's very aromatic. There's a certain nuttiness to the product, to the meat together with the marbling. It has an aged flavor, certainly not porkiness. It's not a piece of salted pork, so to speak. Wonderful marbling, and it has to have a wonderful bite without being chewy. It will not be chewy. It will have a wonderful bite. It will be just enough to sink your teeth into it. However, it will not be. The bite will be good, and it will be easy to chew. I think we can go to the next slide. Here we go. How to eat Consorcio ham? Well, of course, best way to eat it is by itself. However, we all know that we like to pair our Consorcio Serrano with food and wine. Certainly, when it comes to wine, a white wine, a sherry, Fino Manzanilla, a Sauvignon, a Spanish white wine, or even cava, which is Spanish champagne from the Catalonia region. That pairs very, very well with Serrano. Beer, any Spanish lager or any lager, if you can't get your hands on a Spanish lager. With other charcuterie, it's part of any charcuterie board. With chorizo, with salchichon, with lomo, and it will be a delightful mix of different flavors. It's absolutely wonderful. Obviously, Spanish cheeses are extremely popular now in the U.S. Manchego, Murcia al vino, cheese tatilla, and these are wonderful cheeses. I would prefer to eat the ham separately than cheese. I wouldn't personally put it together, only because you lose out in the authentic taste. A very simple, I wouldn't call it a sandwich. I would call it a tapa, is with tomato, where you rub a plum tomato, a ripe plum tomato, on a piece of toast. You drizzle it with Spanish extra virgin olive oil with a little bit of salt and a Serrano ham slice over it, and it is absolutely delightful. Obviously, crackers, bread, baguette, picos, which are those small Spanish breadsticks, crostini, just any cracker is fine, or a flatbread. That is fantastic. It says don't cook it. Obviously, if you cook a dry cured product, it will change. The character will change of the product, and yeah, it won't be the same. Consorcio Serrano is made to be enjoyed sort of as is, without actually cooking it. Having said that, there are recipes where Serrano is used in cooking, and I would whatever fancies you, that then you're more than welcome to try it. Okay, so very important things to keep in mind. We want to go back. There we go. The selection. Each ham is individually selected by our experts. That's very important. Every ham is different, but it has to be selected. It has to be controlled and passed. The integrity. This is what this consortium is all about. It's the integrity of the production process, integrity of the Spanish producers, who are really top-notch producers. The quality of the ham selected. It has to be right to enjoy it. It can't be too tender or not cured enough, or too dry. It has to be just right. It has to be 100% Spanish pork to be called a Consorcio Serrano. Traceability is extremely important, not only from the European institutions, from the Consorcio, and then independently certified by an independent company, that worldwide company, SGS, that does that. And of course, the control of the premises and the production and audits by the experts from the Consorcio. And here are our members, our 20 some odd members that are part of the Consorcio. Not all these companies sell in the US, some of them do. And they're top-notch companies in Spain that serve the world. And we're very happy to have these folks in the Consorcio, and they're really an asset to the product and to Spain. And I believe that is the end of the presentation. I was wondering if there are any more questions from the audience that I would be happy to answer.
Yes, we've asked people in the chat if they are enjoying the ham and what, if anything, they're pairing with it. So we would love to hear from you all as you're tasting.
Joe, just a question. Should the ham be salty? I mean, I've always heard people fear that the Serrano ham is going to be a very salty product.
No, it's not salty at all. Spaniards are they're very sensitive to salt. And so the way to get around using too much salt, some producers use a lot of salt and the product cures within 6 to 8 months. The secret is, if you don't want a salty ham, you salt it lightly, as much as you dare. That's up to each individual producer, but you have to let it cure. You have to let it slowly cure over time, and that assures that you're going to have a wonderfully cured, non-salty ham. And if you look at the percentages,
the taste is going to be ham. It's not going. It's going to be meaty. It's not going to be a potato chip.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's
Okay.
you'll taste the aroma and the nuttiness way before you can taste any bit of salt.
Yeah, once I take this ham home, how long will it keep in the fridge as a consumer?
It will keep for a long time. I wouldn't leave it in there. If it's in plastic, I wouldn't leave it in there for too long. I would consume it within the next week or so, depending on how much you have. It won't necessarily spoil. It might get a little dry. It might get a little dark. But again, it's a shelf-stable, safe product. So you don't have to worry about that. The whole pieces in the deli, they will literally last for weeks again, but they will dry out. So physically,
Okay.
the aspect might change.
Yep, we've got
Question
some
for
comments. and
Carlos.
questions. Oh, sorry. I'm saying we've got some questions and comments from attendees. So I'm sorry, Jeffrey, hold off 1 second. We have some comments that people are tasting it with hot honey, figs, olive oil, and Marcona almonds. Washing it down with a mild grapefruit seltzer that matches the sweet nuttiness. That's interesting. We have a question. Where does the name Consorcio come from? And I can answer that, but why don't you answer it, Carlos?
Consorcio means consortium, and it comes from Consorzio di Parma, which is the mirror group of producers from Italy that, so to speak, has inspired the whereabouts of our Consorcio, the Jamón Serrano. We have a pretty good relationship with Consorcio di Parma, guys.
Great. Oh, specific wine pairing suggestions.
Can I expand a little bit on that? Also,
Yeah, okay.
consortio is a literal translation of the English word consortium, which is association. So it really is just association.
Great.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have specific wine pairing suggestions?
Well, I would say, your favorite white, and I would definitely try a sparkling wine. Definitely try a sparkling wine.
What about rosé? I often hear that at Easter time with, Easter ham, but I don't know if it would go with this ham, a dry rosé.
I would say a light rosé would work for sure.
Yeah.
There's some wonderful rosés from Spain, from the Penedès, or from the area around Valladolid. There's some wonderful white and rosé wines. Even from the south of Spain, some of the whites are very, very good from the Cadiz area. These are white wines that are eventually used for sherry, although they're not sherry wines at all.
Mm-hmm.
I would also add, Susan, sherry is a must. Manzanilla, Fino, they are very good pairings to Serrano. It cleans the palate a bit of these oleic nuttiness flavors that you find on a high quality Serrano.
And sherry is very big right now in the cocktail world. Yeah, absolutely. So
I have a question for Carlos. As a retailer, if I buy a boneless ham and I want to have a slicing program in my store, I take the ham, I slice it. Would I get any repack labels with Consorcio Serrano logos on it for me to apply to my packs?
Well, it could be a promotional tool. Yeah, we can do that. But what is important is that number label that Joe has referred to is just happening once. I mean, it's one number label per ham, per boneless, be it boneless or bone in. So you just keep that number label in case anything happens. is 100% fully traceable. But yeah, we can issue some quality label or quality seals for repackaging. Yeah.
Right, because I also understand that what makes your ham very special, apart from the whole quality selection process, is the aging. Because I've had the experience of having some very young Serranos, which are cheaper, but clearly nowhere near as good.
Yeah, you need to take into account that the minimum aging process for an average Serrano is 7 months, which is almost half the aging process that a CONSORCIO Serrano is going under.
So age makes a difference.
Yep, and to be able to have an age cured ham, you need to have or has a very nice and a very accurate selection of the raw material of the pork. As Joe said before, genetic crosses are very important. I mean, it's not the same genetic when you choose a pork for meat processing. It's not the same genetic crosses as the pork that you would choose for just half meat and pork.
Right, so you have a specific breed, a specific pig that's been selected just to be produced for ham.
Fat is key to meat processing, and especially for curing ham.
Right. And in the production, since every single ham has an individual number, its individual social security number, it is a FUSI traceable product, which meets a lot of our consumer requirements today.
Exactly, that's correct. Oh, we need pricing.
Yes, pricing. Any idea?
No, I can. We as consortium, we don't work with pricing. We just work with promotion and marketing, and it depends on the producer's strategy or commercial strategy. I don't have that answer to that. I can find out and send.
But I guess we could say it's competitively priced for a quality product.
Yeah.
Yeah, pricing is quite similar to Parma ham.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say 10% less, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, obviously, everyone's margins are different. They price it differently, East Coast, West Coast. But yeah, it's comparable to the Parma pricing.
But it is a competitive everyday product. I mean, that is the strategy of the product. So as I say, it is something you can have for every day. It's not something that's stratospherically expensive. It's very affordable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if you, as you mentioned, Joe, if you everyone should go to Spain, and I was there last year, and ate a good deal. I think I ate my weight in jamón serrano. It seemed to be everywhere. It's, I'm not complaining. It was wonderful. So it is a key part of, Spanish cuisine. And it should be on more tables here in the US as well. So
yeah, it wouldn't take you very long to find jamón serrano once you land.
No.
You'll find it everywhere. And it's a product that a lot of people eat, certainly maybe not daily, but definitely weekly.
Yeah.
Because it's a healthy product. It's part of the Mediterranean diet. You don't eat a pound of it.
Right.
It's great, good quality protein, and it's delicious. So
right.
it's good. All the checks.
Absolutely.
It's a great alternative to jerky.
Yes. Well, and if you go to a tapas bar, you will inevitably find jamón serrano in some form, either by itself or with something else, or yep. So.
Yeah, and as one of the, I think of the people pointing out in the chat, we even have a store they call the Museum of Ham in Museo del Jamón. And it's not a museum, it's actually a place where you go and eat good ham.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I just saw a question come across regarding the difference between Serrano and Jambon de Bayonne from France. I can briefly explain the difference. First of all, the origin of the Jambon de Bayonne, the pigs are actually from France. They're from the southern part of France. And the curing process is similar, but the salting is not. Actually, they use a salt called Sali de Berne, which is a salt which is retrieved from salty hot springs from the Pyrenees. I actually visited their facilities 3 years ago, and it was very interesting. They have these outdoor pools. They collect the water. They get the salt out of the water, and this is the salt that's used to salt those hams. Similar, perhaps lower temperatures, approximately 10 months, 12 months maximum curing. It does make it a different product. Certainly no better, no worse. It's just different, and you have to have a pretty fine palate to distinguish the difference between a jambon de Bayonne and for instance, a prosciutto. It's more similar to a prosciutto ham from Italy than it is to a Serrano. Wonderful product, different salting. Very nice facilities there in the Pyrenees. Yeah, just another one of those wonderful hams around the world.
And if you come to our counterculture on October 10th in New York City and Long Island City at the Barnyard, you can taste more jamon serrano and you can taste jambon de Bayonne because they will both be there. And you can make that comparison for yourself. We still have space available. And Carlos will be there. No, Joe will be there slicing. Carlos is in Spain, sorry. Joe will be there slicing Serrano ham. And so if you're interested, we will post the link in the chat so you can sign up for that event. You can also go on to our Eventbrite page and find it there. Well, maybe not because it's a private event, so I don't think you'll get to the link that way. But we're also going to be sending a follow-up email to thank you for being here today. And that will include a list of distributors. Is that right? Foods from Spain folks. And also will include the link to that event. So if you'd like to attend, you can do that. Monday, October 10th. It's an all-day event. And we're very excited to have, excited to meet you, Joe, and excited to have jamon serrano there as part of it.
Thank you.
Any more questions from anyone? Comments, questions? I know we did have someone who did not get her ham. Thank you, Mercedes, for responding. We will definitely follow up on that. But I want to thank everyone for coming. But I don't want to, we still have a few minutes. So Joe and Carlos and Jeffrey, if you have anything more to say, go right ahead.
Well, if I may say so, I've been involved with this product for so long. I absolutely love it. I think, you know, in any nice international deli, you would probably have more than one cheese. You probably would have more than just brie or more than just cheddar. You would have cheeses from around the world. There are a few really wonderful hams from Europe, and CONSORCIOSERRANO should definitely be one of them. In your case, people ask for it. They know the product by now. It's been 25 years, and I have yet to meet people that say, "Oh, I don't like this at all." Most people love it. They enjoy it, and they all have stories about Spain. And it's just a wonderful international product, and I would encourage anyone to eat it, to carry it, and to be successful with it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We always enjoy seeing everyone. Even though we can't really see you, we enjoy seeing your names. There are some familiar names here, and we really appreciate you participating in these virtual countercultures. We are going to be launching a whole series of Counterculture Live in 2023, and we're excited to be able to see your smiling faces at those events. We have some comments. Lovely ham. I can see serving this in so many ways. Thank you. Very informative. Absolutely, yes. I know I learned a lot, Joe. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Jeffrey. And then I'll let you all say the final goodbye.
Well, thank you very much for everything. Thank you, Susan, again for inviting us to join in this fantastic webinar, and thank you all for attending.
Goodbye to everybody. And if you're coming to Long Island October the 10th, hope to see you there.
Great.